Good morning, Bucket Pond family. Today we are building a sealed, self-sustaining ecosystem in a jar. We are using the Walstad method for this project, and based on what we've learned in previous long-term ecospheres, we will have a beautiful planted jar here. I make my ecosphere systems a bit differently than most other YouTubers. I never open my sealed ecospheres. Once they're sealed up, they stay that way. I also plan out my ecospheres very carefully. This is a jar made by Quality Global Market Glassworks, and they seem to be a fine company. They've produced a very nice product. This is a 1.5 liter jar, and it has the word drink engraved on the glass. But that's fine. We're just going to turn it to the side and we won't even see it. Now, this jar does have a sealed locking lid, which is very important for any sealed ecosphere aquarium. Now, this is a Walstad style project, meaning that we will have a layer of soil at the very bottom with a layer of sand on top of that. This will provide long-term fertilizers for our plants, and a healthy amount of microfauna will be produced in this aquarium. I am using all-natural compost for the very bottom, made from oak leaves. And on top of that, I am including a piece of window screen mesh. This window screen is non-biodegradable and non-metallic. It is water safe. And we've studied it and tested it in several other projects which have been sealed for years, and they've done quite well. And here is my sand layer. This is river silt, and it is very heavy. It's a very dense sand, and it will do quite well in here for our Walstad style project. I include the window screen as it will prevent the soil from floating up to the surface. When you add water to a project like this, it tends to erode the sand layer, and if you're not careful, your soil will escape from the bottom and will make a huge mess. So that window screen is very useful. It will not prevent plant roots from going down into the soil, and it will not stop small animals like worms and snails from burrowing down into the soil. But it will stop the soil from floating, so it's very important. I am also including some red lava rock in this project. This will help to promote beneficial bacteria, which will ensure that we have a healthy amount of microfauna living in this sealed jar ecosphere. It also looks nice. So now we add our plants. We are using live plants, of course. They are required for any ecosphere type project. And we are using Java ferns here, I believe is what they're called. And we will also include some Java moss, which will act as a slow-growing semi-aquatic moss in this project. Together, these two plants will make up the bulk of our aquatic plants, and I will also include some floating plants and some emergent plants coming up out of the water in this project. Now we were going to add some more water. I am taking samples from an aquarium in the background there, which contains green water algae and quite a few Tubiflex worms. The green water will act as a future food source for the animals in this project, and the Tubiflex will be one of our main focus, one of our main pets in this ecosphere. Tubiflex worms are very interesting, and I hope that they do well in this sealed project. I'm also adding samples from several other established aquariums to bring in proper colonies of beneficial bacteria, as well as other animals such as Paramecium, copepods, and detritus worms. That's right, this small cup is a detritus worm culture, and we've gotten quite good at raising them, so I can keep them in these little cups and raise them to infinite numbers. When building an ecosphere, you want to keep your water level at about 75% of the jar. You don't want to fill it all the way to the top, as you need a oxygen portion. You need an open air portion for your ecosphere to work, in my experience. So now we've added some duckweed, some bladder snails. I'm going to add some copepod eggs here. They may or may not hatch in this project, but on the off chance that they do, I want to include them anyway. And now we're going to adjust our water level to get it to the final point, right about there, maybe a little bit higher. And now we're going to add our emergent plant. An emergent plant is something that grows from the bottom up and out of the water. I am using climbing dayflower for this project. If you are a person who struggles with raising plants, I would highly suggest climbing dayflower, as it is very hardy and very easy to grow from cuttings. I've never tried it in a sealed project, but it should do quite well here. And here we are, 24 hours later. This is October 3rd, and the jar looks pretty good. I'm just wiping off the dust and sand that has accumulated during the build portion. The jar is not yet sealed, as the soil level is still releasing quite a bit of gas. There are pockets of oxygen trapped below, as well as methane from the decomposing compost. This was an unforeseen event, but I chose to wait before we sealed up the jar to let things air out and to have it properly established before it was sealed. The main purpose of this jar is to raise bladder snails in a sealed ecosphere. And as you can see here, we have a bladder snail free diving through the water column, which is really cool. They can also float up to the surface at will with, without crawling on anything at all. I hope that we see more of this type of behavior in this sealed project. Recently, we had our 3-year update for our pond ecosphere, which has done really, really well. But I was disappointed to see that we did not have any live snails in that project. So with this ecosphere, I wanted to take it a step further. I wanted to build a better ecosystem and hopefully establish a breeding population of bladder snails inside this jar. I love my bladder snails, and most people hate them. But once you fully understand what they are capable of, you will see that they are a beneficial species for any project. Bladder snails will continuously clean your aquarium. They will reduce the amount of maintenance that is required, and they're also a lot of fun to watch. They are very easy to breed and very easy to care for. So again, if you are just starting out in the aquarium hobby or the ecosphere jar aquarium hobby, I would suggest that you start with bladder snails. If you look closely, you can see quite a few of these small white worms darting around throughout the water column. They are my detritus worms, and they serve a very important function in this tank. In the pond ecosphere, we noticed that after 3 years, a significant level of mulm had begun to build up in the bottom. So these detritus worms will help to break down that mulm and stop it from getting so dense. And here we are. This is October 4th, and the jar looks pretty good. It's still quite a bit of outgassing going on in here, as the soil is still releasing methane. And again, I have never used organic compost that I made myself or that my family has produced. So I thought, why not let this air out just a little bit more? But as you can see, we have a newly formed colony of Tubiflex worms there above the surface. We have quite a few of Paramecium and Detritus worms down below. And we have a bladder snail in the duckweed layer at the very surface of the water. I was a bit nervous about including duckweed in this project, as too much duckweed can prevent gas exchange from the water and air portions of your ecosphere. But in this case, I think it should be fine. The duckweed will act as a bit of a filter to help keep the water clean, while also becoming a food source for the animals inside. And it will not prevent them from breathing. Most of the pets that we've included, the bladder snails, Tubiflex worms, they can breathe open air. They can come up to the surface and get a breath. And the Paramecium and Detritus worms can handle low oxygen levels in the water quite well. So if we happen to have a problem with the duckweed blocking the water's surface, it should be okay. And the jar looks pretty good. I'm very happy with this project. This is a Walstad style sealed ecosphere, and we're about to lock it up here. I want to wait one more day before we seal it up permanently. It looked a bit different in my mind when we designed it, but I think it came out nice. I mainly made this project for examples for a website called Quora. I've been very active on Quora lately, and I've noticed a lot of people are asking about bladder snails. Can I raise them in a glass jar? Can I raise them in a flower vase? And things like that. So I wanted to make a project that I can show to them exactly what you can do with bladder snails. I wanted to talk a little bit about them and show a nice habitat that you can build for them. Now, bladder snails are very hardy and they can actually live in just a plain old jar of water, but I like to take things a step further, and especially so when building these sealed ecosphere type projects. The plants will produce oxygen as the animals will produce CO2 and will form a nice cooperative system in here. So here we are on October 6th, and the jar is about to be sealed up now. I've included a piece of cucumber in there to act as the initial food source. Over time, once the algae begins to grow, our snails and worms will begin to feed on the algae and bacteria and wilted plants inside of here. But hopefully, the plants will not wilt until they have grown quite a bit, and we should have a long-term ecosystem established here. But I did include the cucumber as the initial food source to get things started. So that's it, guys. That's our 1.5 liter sealed ecosystem using the Walstad method. Hope that you enjoyed the video. Sorry it took me so long to get it out. I struggled a bit with certain aspects of this tank, and it took longer than I thought it would take. So my name is Terry. The channel is called Bucket Ponds, and I am very happy to share these projects with you. To all of my new subscribers, welcome to the Bucket Pond family. And to everyone that's been with us from the beginning, thank you so much. Guys, please leave a comment and like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and you can always unsubscribe later if you're not happy with the content on the channel. But I have over 100 videos featuring all sorts of stuff like this, and I'm sure there's something out there you will enjoy. So have a great day, guys. I'll have another video up in a couple days, and we should have some more fun things to talk about. So have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.